we don't know how to act. Yeah, I'm pointing out facts. If I point a finger, that's point of attack. He'll point who's next. Flag on the plate, now I'm causing them death. We bet on ourselves, so what you expect? A die-hard fan, never live with regret. Yes, sir. Go to my neck. Go to my neck. Burgundy flex. Who wants the smoke? We bringing it home. Be my guest. Look how we step. Who we got next? Step on the right, step on the left. Who do we rep? Commanders. Where my soldiers? Right side. Commanders. Where my soldiers? Left side. Commanders. Where my soldiers? Watch the middle. Commanders. Where my soldiers? High off the way that this sound, they turn up as soon as they feed the ground. I am not playing around. I hit them, I bet that they feeling me now.
Welcome, one and all across the nation and around the world. I welcome you all to episode 26 of the Commanders Gridiron Report. I'm your host, Drew Willingham, here with a little bit of a different background and clicking the buttons to bring you more action today, as this is produced by
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Thank you to everyone who are tuning in, whether this is you tuning in live or tuning in syndicated after this is a post recording, whether it's on Sertoba Media with that transition that you saw there, or on A7BN Sports, or on Team MBS Media throughout Twitch, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, those 4 platforms, as we are live right here on September 27th. Just want to also give a quick shout out to those of you who've been holding on, waiting for this to come out and probably aren't watching it now because it didn't come out when it was scheduled to come out. This show normally is released on Tuesdays. Normally I go live Tuesday around lunchtime, but my personal schedule and some things in life have kind of prevented me from doing that the past couple of weeks. So I think this is like the 3rd week in a row where I've had to do this on a different day just because of how hectic life scheduling is, and priorities come first. So that's why you're seeing me here on a Friday at 7:30 instead of a Tuesday at 1 o'clock. So I do apologize for that if this does mess up your schedule and you have to check this out after it is live. But for those of you checking out through Sertoba Media, thank you for liking, clicking that like button. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing, as we are almost at 1.25 thousand on YouTube. And we got a little bit more going on with TikTok. And then we got several other platforms where things are like a roller coaster, but we're catching up. All right. But that's your update on things for the almighty
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
And I only say almighty because my man Kyle Johnson says almighty. So I'm trying to fill his shoes with, a great description of it. With that being said, we've got 6 segments, a couple commercial breaks, and all that in store for this episode. Let's go ahead and get it started with the first one in the 1st and 10.
They are the Washington Commanders. New name, new marks, new uniform.
Soldiers, are we ready for Operation Burgundy?
Here at the 1st and 10, we talk about the Washington Commanders on the road this past Monday night. It was an 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time game on September 23rd as they traveled to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Team surprisingly winning, surprised me as well, winning 38-33. Because if you recall last week, I was not predicting the Commanders to win this game. I didn't see the Bengals going to 0-3. I own it. I was trying to be a realist as much as possible because, y'all would have been telling me in the comments or in other avenues of social media that I was drinking too much of the Kool-Aid. So, no, I did not pick them to win. I wish I would have, here at least. There were some other avenues where maybe a few dollars were, tossed aside, and I did bet for them to win. But we're not going to talk about that here. If you want to find out some more information on that, talk to me personally, whether it's on social media or if you have my phone number or if you see me out here in these streets. But when it comes to the 1st and 10, the Commanders made a big statement in the Week 3 win over the Bengals. They really did, 38-33, putting up 38 points with a rookie quarterback. Now, their defense was trash. Both defenses were trash. But when you look at it for what it is, offensive slugfest for what it was, and some mismanagement on the other side by Cincinnati in some cases. Washington had a game plan and they executed it very, very well. This was the first time since 1940 that a game went entire length from start to finish without having a turnover or a punt. Think about that for a minute. Did you think that would happen with the Washington Commanders as part of the two teams that were playing in that game? I sure as expletive didn't. Okay. I didn't think so. You didn't think so. And if you do have some type of proof that you called it beforehand, that you called a 1 in 12 billion statistic, I forget what that was. I got to go back and read that, but it was like a 1 in 8 million or whatever it was chance that this would happen. Yeah, you would be a billionaire now if you put the right amount of pennies on that bet. But anyway, back to the main topic here. The Commanders did make a huge statement because, they're definitely proving that the bill of goods that we were being sold in the offseason by this new coaching staff, by the new GM, by the ownership that's still fairly fresh because they've only been there for a little over a year, and this was their first offseason at the helm of the franchise. They're telling us about how these moves could be paying off, and I've been telling you even last week and before then that it's going to be like a 5-year plan. We're going to see some real success here in about 5 years, but what if we get a little bit of a sneak peek at what's to come? I don't think this team's going on a run this year, and I'm still going to stand on that one because you'd be drinking way too much of the Kool-Aid right now if you're going to be a typical Cowboys fan from the typical fan base there and say, we're going to the Super Bowl. No, not going to the Super Bowl this year, guys. Can you potentially make the playoffs? Can you win the division? I mean, the way this division is right now, I'm not going to give a prediction that they are, but can they? Yes. I'm not going to say that they will right now. It's too soon. I need another 3 to 4 weeks of film to watch to get a better opinion of it. But, if they make the playoffs, I still don't see them going to like the NFC Championship game or beyond. Okay. Let's stay within a real let's stay in the real lane right here. Let's not go that far outside of it. But when it comes to what I saw here for the 1st and 10, I can't give out so much because that'll take away from our other segments. But when it comes to the 1st and 10, I was very surprised. I was also grateful that I was able to have the night off from work because normally Monday nights I'm working. I'm at work during Monday night games, and same thing for Thursdays. Monday and Thursdays I work a shift that I don't get to sit there and watch the entire game. I see clips of it here and there if I get some breaks throughout the night to check my phone and look at whatever particular app for whatever particular day the game's on. But, I do go back and watch the highlights and certain things as well. So, I got a good understanding. But the point of what I was saying was this past Monday night, I actually had a PTO day and I was at home and watched this game. And it was a great time to be a fan of this team, to see what Jaden Daniels did. 91% QBR, the first time a rookie's ever done that in an NFL game. We look back on what RG3 did in his first season with the formerly known as the REDSKINS. And everybody wants to point out what happened at the end of the year, but if you look at what happened throughout that year, that was a historical rookie season. He set records for, rookie records as well. Got the rookie of the year that year as well, and was in discussions for the MVP. And he didn't even do this. He didn't man the team like this. All right. There's other pieces around him that are helping him out, but Jaden Daniels has proved so far in 2 wins out of 3 games why he was the Heisman Trophy winner last year. So I hope that it stays consistent. I know that there's been some easier competition that the man's played. Zach Taylor looked like he was going to have an aneurysm. Zach Taylor being the head coach of the Bengals on the other sideline. We'll get to that here in a minute. But yes, I get it. You beat a team that was the Giants the week prior that is absolutely terrible, okay? And they displayed that last night on Thursday Night Football, all right? And then the Bengals, are now 0-3. They were 0-2 coming in, and they were having some iffy things go on within their first 2 games. So, that's why I can't throw so much out there with the Commanders yet. I'm not going to drink so much of the Kool-Aid already. Let's give it till at least through week 8, and then I'll come back and revisit this. But right here and right now, it's a great win. And we'll break it down a little bit more as we go throughout this show, because it's time to take it to our next segment, that being the Burgundy Flex Review.
Go to my neck, Burgundy Flex. Who wants the smoke? We bringing it home. Be my guest.
And here with the Burgundy Flex Review, it's time to take a look at some in-depth. Well, it's time to take an in-depth look at some highlights that we have from this past week. And shout out to my man Darrell Owens, who was at the game in Cincinnati, who took pictures, and I was able to grab about 10 of them from him, and it helps me tell the story of the highlights of the game. We're going to start off with the offense, because that's mainly what the production was from anyway in this game, because both defenses gave up a lot of points. This type of blocking you're getting from your offense. Look at the form from the offensive line. This is just one example of many that were going on throughout this night. Jaden Daniels was getting that type of protection to where he could stand in the pocket and literally have triple to quadruple the time that Sam Howell would have last year, because they're getting physical up front. These are the things that you want to see when you're watching games. Even if it's not the Commanders playing, if you're just a fan of football and you just want to see this happen, all right? This is the type of football you want to see. It's very physical up front. Can they remain consistent at it? That's a question that will need to be answered in the weeks to come, and I'm not going to get so far-fetched with it now. But the physicality up front with the offensive line is where things were at. And again, shout out to Darrell Owens for these pictures, because it allowed Jaden Daniels to have time in the pocket here. It allowed him to hand the ball off. And of course, he had some monster numbers that day, but you can't forget about Austin Eckler's touchdown and what he did before he got hurt later in the game in the second half that helped keep this team relevant enough throughout the game to where they were able to win it. All right. And it was all because of the balance. And it all started with this, the physicality of the offensive line, whether you want to admit it or not. Beyond that, you got to look at Jaden Daniels having the ability to scramble, just like the running back I showed here, but the ability to scramble and move the chains, get first downs. I mean, in this game, Jaden Daniels had 12 carries for 39 yards. That's not crazy numbers or anything, but you got to look at the fact that he had a touchdown on top of it. He has a rushing touchdown because of the 12 carries and 39 yards that he put on the ground. Got to look at him right here, getting a little bit of a celebration in, because the kid was literally on fire all game long, getting recognition from his peers. His running back here, Brian Robinson Jr., not as active as Jaden Daniels, but was a contributing piece to the puzzle that was put together for this team to get the victory. This is Zach Taylor on the sideline having a mother-fathering aneurysm, as he should, watching the Slim Burrow. I call him Slim Burrow because of that Slim Shady hairstyle he has underneath of his helmet. Slim Burrow unraveling in that offense, even though it was a shootout and they stayed competitive throughout. Their defense was terrible. The Commanders' defense was not as terrible, but it was still bad. Okay. They still have to work with that, which still surprised me mainly because I thought it would be a close game like it was, but a lower scoring game, because both teams are strong on their defense, or at least the Bengals were at one time not too long ago. And the Commanders made moves during the offseason, and the only thing that kept them in the 4 wins they had last year was the people that they had on defense. So I would have thought it would have been a more defensively contested matchup. I was wrong. It was an offensive shootout. And, that is still a red flag to me, because Dan Quinn is a defensive coordinator who just came from the Cowboys, leading the Cowboys, on their defense, to come into the Commanders as a defensive-minded head coach now. And you see what he did there, and you see what he's doing now. It's great. I'm happy. They're 2-1. But the fact that they gave up 33 points to an 0-3 team that's now 0-3, very concerning to me And I'm hoping that they address the miscues with what they had on defense this week and can get on a better track to start next week, because giving up 33 points is not good for a defense that has a head coach that is defensive minded. So we shall see how that turns around. But again, Jaden Daniels had so much time to drop back and make plays, and this was the beginning of what this play would turn into be. The final touchdown that was caught on the day, and it happened to be to Terry McLaurin, who had 4 receptions for 100 yards and that one lone touchdown pass that was thrown to him and caught by him. I wish I had the photo of the angle and the type of catch that he had to make. But if I put highlights on here, YouTube's going to give us bad marks on our channel, and I don't feel like dealing with that and have the energy to contest it. So we're staying away from highlights for now. With that being said, Jaden Daniels is loose, was having a great time, was enjoying life in this game. And can you blame him? Kid was on fire, 21 of 23 for 254 yards and 2 passing touchdowns to go along with the 1 rushing touchdown. So 3 all-purpose touchdowns, along with 254 passing yards and 39 rushing yards. Looking at that, kid had 283 all-purpose yards, nearly 300 yards. It's only his 3rd week, and people were giving him a hard time, including myself, for the lack thereof production when it came to passing, and is wanting to run and looking more like Lamar Jackson. He already is beating Lamar Jackson currently on extending plays with legs and getting rushing first downs as a quarterback, and he's just a rookie. So the one thing that I love seeing in comparison to what they had 12 years ago with RG3 at the helm was the kid has the ability to slide and elude danger. He took a couple of hits. The biggest hit I would say he took was on that final pass that he threw to Terry McLaurin to get the go-ahead touchdown there. So if he could take a hit like that, I think that people need to give him a little bit of an easier time when it comes to his build of his body, because I think he can withstand it. Sick Diggy's in the house and says, brace yourselves. It's time for the Burgundy and Gold to be unleashed. Welcome one and all to the Commanders Gridiron Report. Thanks again for being here, my man. I greatly appreciate you dropping in back-to-back episodes. Now, between what we had earlier with Total Football Talk Extra and now here with the Commanders Gridiron Report there, sir. So thank you again for your time. He also says there's no shame in being pessimistic. This is still a young team that needs some growing up and maturity to their game. Absolutely, I agree with that wholeheartedly. That missed field goal in the second quarter took some wind out of the Bengals' sails last week. It really did. You are spot on with that there, sir. And he follows that up with the Commanders' secondary needs to tighten up. Yes, the DBs do, because that's where a lot of those miscues were coming from. They can't allow the opposing team's passing game to exploit certain mistakes in misreading the opponent's offense. You are spot on with that there, Sick. And we will definitely touch base on that a little bit more later in the show. But we've gotten to the point now where we have to take our first commercial break. When we come back, we still have many, many more things to discuss. The Soldiers of the Week, the Showstopper, the Opponent of the Week, and the Final Drive, all after this first commercial break.
Commanders, where's my soldiers? Right side, right side. Commanders, where's my soldiers? Left side, left side.
Whether it's news, the largest egg producer finds bird flu in chickens at a Texas plant, weather, devastating tornadoes rip through the heart of the United States, inspiration, a breast cancer survivor completed the journey of chemotherapy, and now begins a future one of matrimony or sports. Michael Jordan is shown on a photo with Diddy. LeBron James has a video extolling the virtues of a Diddy party. This has been yet another beating a dead horse presentation. We got you covered. BS3 Network, in association with Comey Media Incorporated, proudly present The Morning Shift with Cole Johnson. Live every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look. Hey, stop playing games. Y'all already know. Go ahead and toss him some Willie Bucks. Ain't nobody playing around. Hey, $sign DWillie87. Go ahead, hit him up on the Cash App, and go ahead and give him some Willie Bucks. Look at Drew looking stoic, ladies and gentlemen. Stoic on that $10 bill. So go ahead, slide my man over some Willie Bucks, and we good. That's all I'm saying. We good. How about some Willie Bucks?
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Drew Willingham.
In this case, yeah, you put the blame on Kyle Shanahan for apparently not preparing the team enough for the overtime rules, supposedly.
Cole Johnson.
Peyton was considered the winner, and he was the darling of all darlings for Gerald.
With a special appearance by Tyrone Alizé McDummy.
Ain't nobody calling me. Text. Delete.
Join these two football enthusiasts as they give you Total Football Talk. Live every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central on the Sertoba Media and the Comey Media YouTube channels.
Commanders, where my soldiers, right side. Commanders, where my soldiers, left side.
Welcome back to the Commanders Gridiron Report. I'm your host, Drew Willingham, and we are back for episode 26. As we just got back from our first commercial break, it's time to take it to the celebration of the MVPs with the Soldiers of the Week.
Where my soldiers, right side. Commanders, where my soldiers, left side.
And as we acknowledge the standouts from week 3, Jaden Daniels is the obvious pick here. Let's start it off by working our way up. Brian Robinson Jr. helped establish the flow of the game with 16 rushing attempts. Even though he only had 33 rushing yards, it definitely set up play action fakes. Also helped set up some things for Jaden Daniels, who had 12 carries as well. Between the two of them, 28 rushing attempts. But Brian Robinson Jr. had a rushing touchdown, which definitely made a difference in this game. Because, they put up a lot of points, put up 38 points. Without Brian Robinson Jr., this game would not have been what it was. So that's why he is here for the Soldiers of the Week. For number 2, got to give it to Scary Terry McLaurin. 4 receptions for 100 yards receiving on the night. Had 1 receiving touchdown, and the man was barely a viable piece for the team throughout the first 2 games. It was great to see him get back into the action with this game right here. And he is my second pick for the Soldiers of the Week. And number 1, this one was pretty mother-fathering obvious. And you gotta go with this one here as we look at Jaden Daniels. 91% QBR. Best ever by a rookie in a game. Go Google it if you don't believe me. But he was 21 of 23 for his completions out of attempts. 254 passing yards. 2 passing touchdowns. And 1 rushing touchdown as well. Are you impressed? I am. That's why he's number 1 on this list right here when we take a look at the Soldiers of the Week. What do you think? Should somebody else been on there and somebody else been taken off? Let me know. I'm not going to change the graphic right now because we're in the middle of the show, but it'll be an honorable mention we could talk about at the end that you would deserve if you can give me someone that was better than one of those 3 with a suggestion of somebody to remove. We'll talk about it. Still have 3 more segments to go. And we're going to talk about the next one, that being the Showstopper.
High off the way that this sound, they turn up as soon as they feed the ground. I am not playing around. I hit them, I bet that they feeling me now.
I had to hold that upper a little bit longer than I wanted to because I had to find the button. All right, and I found it. So when it comes to the Showstopper, what adjustments can the team make to improve from the week 3 win? Whether it was a loss or a win. I like to take this segment to point out some things they absolutely sucked at so we can improve on that this week. Going into the next when you have the team that we're going to talk about here in a minute. But when it comes to what they can improve on. Like Six said, I'm going to bring that comment back up because he brought up a great comment earlier. You got to look at the defensive backs, okay? The defensive backs definitely need to step it up because the secondary needs to tighten up. I mean, 33 points, the amount of deep passes they were giving up. I get it. It was Slim Burrow, real Slim Shady, blonde hair, wannabe Slim Shady, Slim Burrow, okay? He was slinging the rock, and he can sling the rock. You know, I'm not going to take that away from the man. Did a great job. But we made the man look like Tom Brady in certain aspects, certain parts of the game. He is Slim Burrow. He's not Tom Brady. He's not Thomas Edward Patrick Brady II. If Cole was on here, he would say Junior, but no. Slim Burrow is who he is because that's what he looks like with his hairstyle. I mean, I'm being judgmental. You can say whatever you want, but I mean, he's the one who did it to himself. All right. DBs need to tighten up for the Commanders. You know, the linebacking core did pretty good. You know, we did see some work from them. The defensive front, the defensive line, the offensive line for the Bengals have struggled the first 2 weeks. Okay, which is why they're 0-2. Weren't giving Slim Burrow enough time, enough protection, and of course their defense was playing absolutely terrible. You looked at the reiteration of that this week when they gave up 38 points to the Commanders, a team that had just won 21-18 over the dumpster Pelican Giants the week before. Don't even get me started with that. But yes, that's what happened. Right here and now, as long as this game does not blow up their heads and their egos to thinking that they got an easy win coming with Arizona, there's no way. I think Jaden Daniels will be fine. I think that the overall locker room is going to be fine because Dan Quinn has been doing great things for morale. You can see the results on paper. You can see it on film, and you can see it when they're doing interviews. Okay. This man was a great hire, and I was questioning it. If you go back to the first or second off-season episode of this show, because I was doing like one per month. If you look at the one from back around the time they were making the coaching changes and bringing in new staff, I was questioning it a little bit, and it all had to go back to the Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl when they were winning and they gave up that huge lead to the Patriots, and they came back and they won. And Dan Quinn should have been a Super Bowl champion head coach then, and would probably still be in Atlanta had they won. But luckily for the Commanders, he's here, and I didn't see it that way earlier this year. So I own up to being wrong. And I hope that they continue to prove me wrong from earlier this year throughout the rest of the season because it's fun to watch. It has been fun to watch this team the past 2 weeks, or at least mainly this week. The first game that they won against the Giants, it was a dumpster Pelican matchup, and I can't sit here and say I got to correct myself. I cannot sit here and say that I was having a great time the past 2 weeks. It's this week I've been having a great time. Consistency is key, though, everyone. And that I'm not going to drink the Kool-Aid fully until we get through week 7 or 8. So I have more examples on film to look at and different things to break down. And right now I can tell you that Sick Diggy's got it spot on right here when he's talking about the secondary. Because the defensive backs looked like trash in certain elements of the game this past week, which is why they gave up 33 points. They did the same thing the week prior against the Giants, except for it was just a field goal slugfest that day between those two teams. And the week prior, don't even get me started with week 1. Okay, we'll leave that alone for right now. But besides the defensive backs, and they need to make some adjustments with how they approach the game on the defensive line. I think their linebacking core is doing great. The middle of the field was looking fine without what they were doing. Offense. Keep doing what you're doing. Jaden Daniels, continue to slide. Protect yourself. Continue to protect yourself because that's the one thing I get worried about every time I see a Washington quarterback run, and I've felt that way for the past 12 years since RG3 got hurt. It's just, you call it PTSD if you want to. That's just how I feel when it comes to this team and having a quarterback that can scramble. Speaking of Jaden Daniels passing last week, don't forget about his touchdown pass to Trent Scott. Yes, sir. When he got open in that goal line play, nobody was happier than Scott himself. You could see that in the post-game interview, by the way, too. Scott was elated with that. And ironically, that was Jaden Daniels' first ever NFL touchdown pass. He'd had some scrambles in the end zone, with his legs and running on the ground. But that was his first touchdown pass, and it was to an offensive lineman who was eligible on that play. So, yes, I'm not going to forget about Mr. Scott, and I don't think the people should either. I was waiting for the right moment. If that's what you're saying that I should have subbed out Brian Robinson Jr. for, I disagree with that. I will say honorable mention and to not forget about him. We talk about him, but I don't think that he should have replaced Brian Robinson Jr. because even though the yardage was lackluster, he still scored a touchdown in the red zone, and he had 16 rushing attempts, which I don't care if it's for a half a yard or a yard. It still is a play, and it still wears down the defense. So I still have him up there because of the amount of times that he ran it and the impact he has on the game, not just running, but when they get the opportunity to throw him the ball, which he might get a little bit more opportunity depending on how much this concussion is looming over Austin Eckler for the near future, because Austin Eckler was brought in primarily to be the receiving back. That's what he did with the Chargers. And then you got Brian Robinson who can run it. Now you got to change your scheme up a little bit. It won't be surprising to me for what I'm about to say, but it may surprise, people who are fans of the Commanders or just fans of football, how much of their production drops off this week if they are without Austin Eckler. And not more so without him, but the ability to have the passing option to your running back, to have a running back out there that can be a good catcher, good receiving back. Be interested to see who they can sub in there and what they can do. But Cliff Kingsbury is definitely showing he is a smart mother father on the offensive minded side when it comes to being an offensive coordinator. Let him keep cooking. As long as the results keep coming, let him keep cooking as much as he wants. And Sick Dicky says, to hell with the Kool-Aid, grab some Gatorade or water and observe with everything with clear eyes and focus. There it is. I like that, Sick. That should be on a coffee mug. Oh no, Scott shouldn't replace any of the MVPs of the week, but that his touchdown catch should be viewed for the memorable moment that it was. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I gave you something similar to that context when I was saying what I was saying. So very, very well delivered there, sir. I support your message and your angle of that. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and take one final commercial break. It's a shorter one than the last one. Just a heads up, it is a shorter commercial break. And then when we come back, we've got the opponent of the week, where we break down this upcoming week 4 matchup, as well as the final drive. I'll see you back in about 2 minutes.
Commanders, where my soldiers, right side. Commanders, where my soldiers, left side.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason Whitlock.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look. Hey, stop playing games. Y'all already know. Go ahead and toss him some Willie Bucks. Ain't nobody playing around. Hey, $sign DWillie87. Go ahead, hit him up on the Cash App, and go ahead and give him some Willie Bucks. Look at Drew looking stoic, ladies and gentlemen. Stoic on that $10 bill. So go ahead, slide my man over some Willie Bucks, and we good. That's all I'm saying. We good. Around some Willie Bucks.
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Oh, yes. The tradition, the pageantry, the spectacle, the history, the slut. Wait. I gotta rep my brother's stuff right. All my DMV soldiers, stand up! And welcome to the Commanders Gridiron Report. If you want your Commanders to be repped right, well, D. Willie is your man. Commanders Gridiron Report. Every Tuesday at 1:05 p.m. Eastern, 12:05 a.m. Central on the Sertoba Media YouTube channel. Music by J.KUL.
Where my soldiers, right side. Commanders, where my soldiers, left side.
Welcome back to the Commanders Gridiron Report as we broke down the Commanders' make statement in Week 3 win over the Bengals. I'm your host, Drew Willingham, as we are here for episode 26 to discuss everything Washington Commanders. We have 2 more segments to break down. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and take it into the opponent of the week and discuss who the Commanders are facing in Week 4.
Look how we step. Who we got next? Step on the right, step on the left. Who do we rep?
This Sunday, the Commanders travel to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. We'll take this banner down for a second. Week 4, September 29th, in 2 days. Well, less than 2 days now, since it is nighttime, and we are later covering this episode than anticipated. But the 2-1 Commanders, winning 2 consecutive games, travel to Arizona to take on the Cardinals, who are 1-2. 4:05 p.m. Eastern Time, Week 4. When it comes to this, let me know here in the comments what you all are thinking as far as who wins. Do the Commanders get their 3rd straight victory, or the Cardinals, who have been clawing away towards rebuilding themselves, especially with their new head coach that came in last year? Got Kyler, I also almost called him something else, but Kyler Duty is what Cole and I call him on Total Football Talk, because with him, he likes to play a lot of Call of Duty. I mean, the kid is sponsored, okay? Get sponsored. These few bucks on the side. But you get paid to play football. And that was our biggest argument last year during the first season of Total Football Talk. Now, I think Kyler has put more time and more effort studying, looking at film, spending more time with his teammates, whatever the case may be. You can see with the Cardinals, there's a little bit more togetherness. There's a little bit more chemistry. There's a little bit more camaraderie with the team, which helps. Not in every angle of business, depending on what you do, but in football, in sport, yes. Very, very important. And I think that's why this is going to be a tough matchup for the Commanders this week. I know last week I picked the Commanders to lose. Bengals get the win at home. And I lived by the sword. I died by the sword on that topic. Okay, I was wrong. Sat up here today at the beginning of this episode 35 minutes ago as I was apologizing for being 3 days late to bring in the show to the air. I was apologizing for my take of picking the Bengals because I was wrong. I didn't see it coming. I apologize again. I may be apologizing next week because I'm going to predict that the Arizona Cardinals win this game. I may have said a few different things on Total Football Talk. May have been relatively close, to be honest, with the way my week has gone since Monday. That was 4 days ago. And considering the fact that we hadn't seen that Bengals game yet, I don't think I went too far in depth with it. I haven't had a chance. I don't really go back and watch my content unless I'm clipping out some clips for reels and shorts, and I make notes for the time when we're actually in the show for certain things that I say. So I go back to that certain time, find it, clip it out, done. I don't watch the whole episode. Okay. If I watched all my content, I'd be sitting here watching my own content for like a month straight for what I've done over the past 5-6 years. Okay. But with all that being said, I cannot. It's tough to pick them to lose 2 weeks in a row, knowing that I picked them to lose last week and they won in a very, very, very well played game. But something just tells me that the Arizona Cardinals are better than the 1-2 record that they've got on paper, and I'm not going to put it past them. And it also goes to prove to you how much I am not a homer of the Commanders. Whether I'm supportive of them or not, been a fan since I was in baby clothes for the formerly known as the REDSKINS. This is my analyst hat I'm putting on, and certain things with what they did in the defense, they cannot give up 33 points in a game like they did last Monday and expect to win. Like it was only because their offense was better, and they were in a shootout, and they were putting up points every single time that they were on a drive offensively. That's the only way they won the game. Because normally this way, when they were giving up this amount of production to the other team's offense and giving up that amount of score to that team, they were losing the damn game. All right. And again, wouldn't have been surprised if it happened because I predicted them to lose the game. I don't think they're going to give up as many points as they gave up to the Bengals last week, even though this is another away game. I'm going to say that it is a close one. They're not going to get blown out. But I'm going to say 28-24. For some reason, I got 28-24 in my head. And I'm going to stick with 28-24. That is what the Cardinals are going to win by 4 points. And I'm probably going to be wrong with that score for 1. But for 2, I again won't be surprised if the offense continues to play at the level and get better each week like they have been. I will not be surprised if they win the game. But I am telling you this, just like we covered in the segment before we went to commercial break, just like what Sick Diggy brought up about the secondary, and I reiterated that. There's no way you're going to give up 33 points and win this game, because where the Bengals were a better team last year, in my opinion, even though they had a rough start, the Cardinals were a rough team all year last year, and they retooled in certain departments. And especially when you look at Marvin Harrison Jr., who was quiet last week in his game. He went off in the second game in just 1 quarter and set rookie records with that, with the amount of yards on 4 receptions and 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. Didn't do that in week 3. Not saying he's going to do that in week 4, but I think he's going to have a pretty good game. Not better than his original breakout game, but I think Marvin Harrison's going to do some damage in week 4 against the Commanders and their defensive backs who have been playing like trash, because that's been what's been hurting them in the games this year. Like the amount of points they've given up, they're going to have to tighten up with their secondary, like Sick Diggy said, if they want a chance at winning against the Cardinals. I mean, let's be honest. Do not drink the Kool-Aid. Do not expect the Commanders to beat the Cardinals just like that because they won like they did this week. I still will bring up the way they barely beat the Giants with the battle of the field goal kickers, okay? And then with what happened in week 1. So say what you want, and I will, if you're talking highly of the Commanders and you're predicting them to win, I'm happy for you, and I'll be happy to hear it. But me, as a legitimate prediction for what's going to happen this Sunday afternoon, I think they're going to lose. I think they're going to fall to 2-2. And I'm not even going to be mad about it because I'm just happy to see them at the point that they are right now, especially after the way they won Monday night. It would be nice to see them get to 3-1, but I'm not going to lose any sleep over thinking about it between now and then because I got too many things to do. With that being said, that gives us our breakdown of the opponent of the week. Let's see what you guys have to say here in the comments. Sick Diggy is still firing them off. It says, with Austin Eckler out, Jeremy McNichols needs to step up. Yes, he does. But are there any running backs in the reserve? Not like what Austin Eckler would produce. And Jeremy McNichols is not really known to be as physical of a receiving back as what Austin Eckler had been able to provide in the 3 games that he's been with the team, because this is his first season with the team after spending the entirety of his career with the Chargers. He's 30 years old. You know, he's old for a running back. So I'm not surprised to see him on the sidelines. I'm not happy to see it being because of a concussion. Nobody wants to see that happen. Nobody wants to see anybody get hurt. But concussions, the way they are taken seriously nowadays, which they should, and that's good for all people in all different sports. It's good to take this seriously. The question is, we don't know the severity of it right now, and we don't know how long he's going to be out. Because look at how things are going for Tua Tagovailoa over there in Miami. Very, very big question marks with him over there. I'm not saying that Austin Eckler is going to be in that boat, but it's never good, especially nowadays, when the discussion of concussion is the main topic. Sick Diggy says, then again, what are the chances of Arizona getting sloppy and making huge mistakes in this upcoming game? They can. They've done it before. That's why they're 1-2. And they've got young talent. And the Commanders have young talent. And again, I will not be surprised if that happens. I would love to see that happen. It'd be awesome to see this team have a 3-1 start and see if the Eagles can lose. No offense, Dante and my other friends out there who are Eagles fans. But if they lose and the Commanders win, they're at the top of the division. The first time in a very long time. 2020. I believe. The pandemic season was the last time they won the division. I think that was the last year that there was a 16-game season as well, and they were 7-9, or they were 7-10 when they won. Sick Diggy, since you're like my Tony Reale of the show, fact check stuff for me. Why don't you look that up? Let me know here in the comments. I know 2020 was the year they went, the last time they won a division and went to the playoffs. But was 7-10 or was it 7-9? I don't know. You tell me here in the comments. With that being said, it's now time to take it to the final drive.
We bet on ourselves, so what you expect? A diehard fan never live with regret. Yes, sir.
The final drive is where I give my closing thoughts on the Commanders heading into the upcoming week. And with this one, it's week 4. Well, if you guys didn't watch Total Football Talk Extra earlier today, I had an announcement. And I announced it on that show. And I don't have the breaking news button on here. But what I do have, I can just supplement it with this.
What's that?
With that.
And what's up here at the final drive? We'll talk about week 4, but I announced it on Total Football Talk Extra that I will be at FedEx Field a month from today. Actually, right now, September 27th. I will be there October 27th with one of my longtime friends for over 20 years since the school days. Going to go watch them play the Bears at home. It should be a pretty interesting matchup. Battle of the first and second overall pick from this past year's draft. And I will be in attendance to see it. That was the breaking news that I got from discussing that with a friend yesterday. It was a great surprise, a great way to start the weekend, especially as I'm about to get ready to get in my car here shortly and go to work to help out the team for a little bit. But this team right here that we're talking about as we're rounding out this show, Washington Commanders. I look forward to seeing what they do this weekend. Even though I predicted them to lose, it's been exciting to watch them play this week. And they had flashes in the pan in the first 2 games. Even though the overall production was absolutely trash week 2 when they played the Giants, okay? Absolutely trash. Still has some flashes in the pan with Jaden Daniels, extending the plays with his legs to set them up for those damn 7 field goals they had. But here and now, they cannot play like that and expect to win, and they didn't do that in week 3. We saw a big difference in offensive production this week. But you got to look at who you're playing to. They have the potential to have something similar happen with the Bengals if certain things go sideways for the Cardinals. Because their defense is kind of like a roller coaster. It's up and down. They're really good in certain elements of the game on defense, like with pass defense. They can't block the run, really. Okay? They can't, I wouldn't say block it, but they can't really stop the run effectively and consistently. So with Eckler being out, that kind of hurts because even though it's not rushing, I still count the little check down passes, little dink and dump passes as pretty much like runs because you're still doing the same thing. It's just your running backs running without the ball for like 3 feet, and then you're tossing it to them. And those are the plays that screw other defenses up who still can't stop the run. So that's why I don't count it as a pass play. So if the Commanders continue to elevate with their game preparation, with their game planning, and their coaching staff continues to prepare these players as well as they did the past 2 weeks, even though the first game was sloppy win, but they got the first win out the way. It's usually the hardest one to get sometimes. Then you can start to build momentum, like with winning a second game like they did this week. That's why I will not be surprised if they win. I'm just not calling for it because I don't think we should get too far ahead of ourselves here. We got to be real with what we're seeing. And again, thank you to Sick Diggy for the comments you've dropped throughout this episode because you dropped a lot of gold. I was hoping we could do it, 6 hours ago when I was originally planning on it. But like I talked about in Total Football Talk, laid down for a nap, and the quick nap lasted a lot longer than I anticipated because I guess I needed it. But here and now for this game, again, I called it 28-24 Arizona Cardinals win. I hope I'm wrong when we come back next week. I hope the rest of this weekend goes pretty smoothly and the start of next week does so that way I can come back to you guys on Tuesday at the regular time of 1:05 p.m. Eastern time. I hope that I can fulfill that this upcoming week. But this past Monday, having a Monday night game, trying to do this Tuesday afternoon, it just wasn't working. It just wasn't going to work. So that's why I didn't. And that's why we are here live at almost 8:30 on this Friday night. But for all of you who have tuned in, whether it's live, whether it's in post-production, syndicated, whether you're watching the Mother Fathering shorts, whether you're watching the other content that my other brothers that provide content on Sartoba Media, whether you're watching that, I appreciate you. You got Kyle Nash, who provides the Student of the Game podcast, as well as the Jaguars podcast called the Duval Dive, a Jaguars podcast. Shout out to him and Travis Holmes for providing the excellent coverage of that team, even though they're not playing well this year, providing great coverage of that team for now 2 years and helping me build this brand known as Sartoba Media that's almost at 1.25 thousand followers, subscribers, whatever you want to call it. I wouldn't be able to do it without the support of my friends and the people out there who are trying to help me attain my goals. Okay. So thank you very much to all of you out there. I love all of you. Might not have 100 people watching every single time it's live. We've had it at certain points. And we might not have thousands of likes on a video or views and shares or whatever. But it's the regular people that come back. It's the Sick Diggies and others that show up here in the chat, whether you're watching it on Sartoba Media or you're watching it on Team MBS Media or you're watching on A7BN Sports on Facebook. If anybody is looking at the video on that platform, I haven't really checked it in a while, so I have to go back and do some homework and see, compare, contrast, see what the options are moving forward. People are watching it or not. Putting all that in perspective, couldn't do this without you, the people. Sick Diggy. And those of you out there who bring the comments and the support. I appreciate you all as I get ready to sign off of here, get dressed, and go to work. But I'm looking forward to it because money is great. It makes the world go around. Because if you don't have money, it's tough because this economy is bad, no matter where you're at in the world. So thank you very much for taking your time to watch this, whether it's live or post-production. Again, hook me up with the like on the video. Share it to your friends. Let's help push up the algorithm chances a little bit. With moving the times around in different days and times and not being able to stay consistent, it has hurt me with my individual content. And I understand that. But priorities come first. And, once everything else, I get adjusted to all the other stuff that's moving, with the moving parts going on in personal life, professionally, I'll be able to have that extra free time to get back to the original plan. The original plan is still there. Just need a little bit more time. But thank you for your patience. Thank you for your support. And I greatly appreciate it out here in these streams and in real life. So Sick Diggy says, hey, better late than never. And yes, absolutely. So I appreciate it. I was getting it done today or by tomorrow at the latest, but I figured because I pushed it back 3 days, I'm going to make an effort to do it before I go to work. By the way, Washington clinched the NFC East Division of 2020 with the 7-9 record, so I was right. Awesome. And thanks again for that, my man, Tony Reality. Tony Reality, not Tony Reality, but Tony Reality with the fact checking all the way from Norway, my man, Sick Diggy. And he says, have a great night and drive safely, dude. I will. I greatly appreciate it. And I'm about to make my journey on up to work as I'm on call this weekend. And tonight is the night that I have to go in. For all of you that tuned in to watch this show, whether you jumped in now to whoever keeps jumping back in and out of Team MBS Media and hasn't been consistent with watching this show from start to finish and just jumped out again, I hope you see what I'm about to say. But it's the inconsistency and the support in some factors that are eventually going to result in me making some moves. And if you can read between the lines, feel free to reach out to me because, this show is going to continue to elevate in certain ways once we get in the specific time slot that I have in mind. I need all people on board and all support on board. And if you can't even click a share button, when I tag you in a video, in a promo that I take time to put together, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, and you can't even take the time to click share to yours, it makes me question what are we doing here? When you see all of this created, I'm not trying to flex, but I am going to flex. It's all by these hands. And if you can't even support by using your finger to click the share button, I'm going to take my show elsewhere. Everyone, have a great weekend. Enjoy football, whether you're watching CFL currently with the first of 2 games it's on right now, or if you're watching NFL or college football, any sport, or just enjoying life this weekend. Please, if you're not watching this on Sartoba Media, go back and rewind it a minute and watch what I just said since you popped back in on that channel, going in and out, in and out, in and out. See what I just said. Everyone, as always, please stay safe out here in these streets.
Commanders, where my soldiers, right side, Commanders, where my soldiers, left side, Commanders, where my soldiers, watch the middle, Commanders, where my soldiers, now we step, where my soldiers, right side, Commanders, where my soldiers, left side, now we step, where my soldiers, watch the middle. Commanders, where my soldiers, hit 'em.
Sartoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.